All right, it has been a while since I decided to voice over a vid. I got, pretty lazy and was very busy with school for the most part. Obviously not for the last few weeks because my exams are over with for the quarter. But for a while, I was just kind of like not at all focused on posting anything on YouTube. I was just planning war and playing with the rest of GT40. But yeah, we did take first in this season, which is always nice. I think it's my sixth title, I want to say. I think it's six. But yeah, this is a Note 48 Photon that's just dead in 30 seconds because Madeline Pryor is a pretty good champ. Class disadvantage, safeguard, force of will, doesn't matter. This Yelena, I heavily disliked this Yelena. Not because the fight is difficult by any means, like the fight is really easy. And I would see people die to this, and I was kind of confused why. Like, it's really safe. You're bleed resistant, so you're half immune. You become crit immune as soon as the enemy is above 50 combo, so you don't really have to worry about any crits in the block. And again, you're bleed resistant, so any crits she would have done before then wouldn't have dealt extra damage. Uh, I did this fight, I think, 8 or 9 times out of 12 wars this season. I think it was pretty much just a dedicated Silver Samurai slot, mainly because Onslaught was blacklisted and Sinister was bannable. So those two champions being vaulted away makes this fight a little more tricky, like a little more annoying. But yeah, nothing too crazy. You're just kind of playing standard. You want to get her, between 80 to 100 combos, so you get your unblockable passive after a special. And I usually tried to let her throw SP1s in Rupture, but here I was just greedy and impatient, I guess. So I just threw a full SP1 into Rupture and only got one Rupture for it. So very lucky RNG there. My unblockable is going to expire, which I don't want to happen because then I have to re-ramp. But your relic pauses it. So yeah, very straightforward fight. Just got bored of it doing it. I just got bored of it doing the fight for the 8th or 9th time eventually. Next, this is kind of a fight I took as a result of said boredom with Silver Samurai. This is Node 47 Nico. Dust is honestly very good for this. I think Silk is better. Tiger is probably better if you have a competent player. But yeah, I'm the officer, I'm the planner, so I decided, hey, I just ranked this champion from July 4th sales. I'm gonna use her. I wanna have fun. And I should probably just be dexing these specials because she has 5 Furies and those are doing like 6.8k damage through block or whatever it was. But yeah, we get to SP3, we're going to throw it, and we're going to use the Falter to intercept, which actually does cause the buffs to start expiring, or the Furies specifically. And Dust doesn't counter Falter, so it's something to keep in mind if you kind of end up lining things up in a bad way. But we plan to get this fight over with very quickly. So yeah, not great crit RNG, but again, super easy, less than a minute. Pretty chill fight. Very enjoyable. I think Dust is a really cool champion and, hope I can use her some more. This is Node 9 Sasquatch. I think this is even ranks, both rank 5 Ascension 1. I cashed out my pity for Madeline a while ago, and honestly, I thought she was really cool at the time with like the time slow mechanic. I thought the kind of heavy punish time slow felt like an Infinity Blade reaction window, which is probably the favorite game from my childhood. But yeah, Madeline on attack is immune to both hazards here, both poison, or not poison, both rupture and bleed, and it actually strengthens her force field. I didn't think he would enter Wrath, so I just ate a fat heavy, but yeah, cost some potions, still 30 seconds. I did use a lot of different champions this season, I want to say, just because my approach as a planner is kind of figure out the problem fights on the map, get those assigned, and kind of just fill in the blanks in between. We ended up recruiting Trevor before the season to replace someone else, and he had a Solvark, which means the one I ranked initially for defense meant, or I could use mine on attack because I no longer needed to place him. I use him a good amount in BGs, but this I think was the first time I really used him at rank 5 in War for this Modoc. I played it really like passively and reserved. I felt like I could have avoided baiting that second special too, but it doesn't really matter. Like, as soon as we SP1 get to SP3, the fight is done. He takes like 400,000 burst damage. This is the exact same node, actually, but this is a rank 5 Ascension 2 Dust. I think this is the same war as the Nico fight, and this is a rank 5 Punisher. So she's probably the best counter to this fight, I want to say. She's a mutant hero. She's only half immune, so obviously you're not poison and cold snap immune. So maybe there's an argument to be made that, Iceman is better than Dust here, which, maybe it's true. But yeah, Iceman doesn't have an ascension, and Iceman is also a bum of a champion. So yeah, Dust is miles clear. Uh, can get scary with the prowess on the node and crits in the block, but it's actually kind of crazy that with like basics only, he's already down to half in less than a minute. I do a couple hits into cold snap. I can risk it. Like it doesn't really matter. And what's actually kind of funny is that I'm healing from this cold snap, which I didn't notice at the time, but like watching it back, I was like, huh, I don't know why that is. Maybe she just has that much health. But yeah, we throw the SP3. The fight is, effectively over. He will get this indestructible. So we're just gonna throw the first SP2. Doesn't do any damage because of the indestructible, but he's stunned after, and we just throw another and he dies. So could definitely be faster, kind of just playing for safety because, PBT was a big war, I think, towards the end of the season. This is Node 36 Dark Phoenix. This fight almost fried me, I think, the season prior when I took it. I think LBT placed the exact same, like, defender in the same node, so I think there was also 36 Dark Phoenix last season. But I was using a rank 4 Absorbing Man at the time, and I think I got parried on my light start, so I just lost most of my health off rip because she crit me. But this fight is really chill. I think the main thing you want to do is during Incinerate phase, because in Uru form you're not Incinerate immune, is just kind of doing this little double light to punish her heavy to kind of keep your form paused and just kind of only hit her, you know, more than once to tap and pause during bleed when you're actually immune to it. But here we throw the medium light, medium to refine. She throws SP2. I should have done more hits. I didn't think that crit would like take her into immortality so fast, but yeah, we just throw the relic. She's blocking. She dies. Very easy, very safe. This fight was very impressive in my opinion. Like Madeline is really absurd in war, and I think more people are starting to take notice. There's a guy in Night Guardians who posts or has been posting a bunch of crazy things that he does with his champion on YouTube. And I couldn't be bothered fitting a Thanos from someone else on this fight, so I was like, "Oh, I think I've seen this guy do it or do a similar fight." I got it with Madeline, and yeah, it was like 20 seconds, which is just ridiculous. Like she's so safe, she's so fast for all of her fights because direct damage in degen scales really, really high in her kit, and is also very hard to resist because it's direct damage. But moving on, this is rank 4 Bastion punching up on rank 5 Lumitrix on the Fisticuffs node. The heavy punish is 2 dashbacks. I actually tested this like a long time ago, the first time Bastion was whitelisted, I think, because node 44 Lumitrix was really common, and you kind of have to have an evade answer. And I was in duels, and I was like, well, I can probably punish this heavy with Bastion, and yeah, we've been kind of sending it ever since. But once we have our pursuit, we're just gonna throw SP2, and because of his Sig, Lumitrix Sig specifically, he can fail your burst. Like any instant burst has the ability to fail. Like you can see ability failed on the left. But I think with Bastion, if he's throwing his SP1 in infection, a second infection applies like on each individual trigger, so you're less likely to have a bunch of your bursts fail. So even then, punching up with bursts failing was 55 seconds. This fight, 44, stun immune, poison rupture, hazard, Jean Grey. You eat the heavy on purpose. I'm not that mentally slow to do that unintentionally. I hope. But yeah, this fight this is my first time taking the fight. Like this is my first time I think using him on attack at rank 5 in the same war. I had like 1 or 2 fights prior to this, but I'm playing very passive, playing very safe. I'm just kind of taking my time, and she is just throwing full combos into block. I'm trying to let her hit me with another heavy so I can, keep my charges high once I throw my SP1. But she kind of just waits out whole poison phase, which is kind of why this fight takes a while. Like my friends are making fun of me for taking a while in this fight when, players in my battle group like Tilapia who have done it, 100,000 times have done it in maybe, 30 seconds. Yeah, they can give me a break. This fight is not really hard. The only thing you actually ever need to watch out for is maybe like a special attack converting Neuros to passive and lasting longer. But yeah, you throw the SP3, you win. Solid 495k burst. Next, this is Nova on node 18. It's a tactic fight. Using Spiral, tactic attacker. At max Sig, you'll basically just be ignoring both hazard shifts. It's poison shock on this node, and there's an indestructible after gaining a bar, like you'll see right there, when the attacker gains a bar specifically. But Spiral destroys, I think, indestructible buffs among other kinds of buffs. I'm not exactly sure which ones at the moment. But yeah, like we can use our blades here to destroy the indestructible and just throw another SP1. She's really smooth to play, and with Max Sig is quite viable for a lot of hazard shift stuff in war, like Serpent, mostly Cosmics. I'm sure she can flex into, other matchups, but for the most part, we have better alternatives for those. But yeah, pretty perfect fight. Nothing to really take note of. Just kind of hit the guy, get rid of the indestructibles, and all good. This 42 null, I think I've taken it for the past, however long it's been since Null got the Ascension and everyone started putting him back here. This is probably my cleanest rendition of the fight. I'm certainly not posting some of my more recent attempts because they get really ugly and barely come out alive. There was a war this season against Salty, I believe, where in every battle group, all of the Absorbing Man players on this fight ended, like sub 25%, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, this fight is it's like I say it's hard to die to, but it's also just like quite scary because something can always go wrong. Like this is probably best case scenario for the fight. Moving on, this is Node 9 Dark Phoenix with Madeline. I think Absorbing Man and Nico were banned. So rather than, using Hood punching up, because Hood is a bum champion and I don't ever like assigning him, I just use Madeline because I'd seen people do it and I was like, I think I can probably do it better. So the video I had seen was using Invul Boost. I used a PS1 just to get my SP2 off before she got, you know, more power from me hitting her and just building my own power. But the goal is to actually just let her, or not let her throw a special. That is the entire goal here. We have the Jean Grey synergy, which gives you a lot of extra force field strength, which is really nice, especially for a fight like this when you will get Nova Flames on you and you will, likely lose your force field if you don't have the synergy. But your SP3 steals all of the enemy's power, or I think it's all full bars, and you get half of it back. But you'll see that we're gaining force field strength from the hazard shift immunities, and despite the Nova Flame reducing block proficiency, she's basically dead. So super clean, pretty safe. Again, Madeline is an incredible champion, especially in war. And this is, I think, the last fight I included. This is just, more Dust propaganda. I like Dust. She's a cool champion. And this is, yeah, 18 Lumitrix. So the same fight as the Nova, but you can actually parry and glance his last special one hit, and it will actually prevent his, untouchable from triggering as long as, there's no extra ability accuracy protection on the node. So that was really cool. It's something I also figured out dueling like a long time ago. And it's just kind of cool seeing all these unique things that Dust can kind of work her way around one way or another with some aspect of her kit. And again, we did take first this season, 20 deaths, 3 were DC, so 17 deaths actually. I went 59 and 0. Didn't take a ton of fights because of Silver Samurai moment. And yeah, people got a lot of title upgrades. FTL and Trevor won their first. Garbo, Tilapia, and Kaus got defending, so shout out to them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.